Hello.
Then, now,
Countdown to the queens.
Episode number 500.
forever.
Looks like hell throws over.
Without any more further ado,
Together.
let's jump straight into the show. Hello, welcome to episode number, I think it's 114 of the TEW IX Challenge Run. We're here for SmackDown, the 28th of February 2025. It is the go-home show, the final day before the Roadblock pay-per-view event. And yeah, tonight we have a Liberty Championship main event. The Megasis defends against Ember Moon 1 week after she defeated Kairi Sane. Ember challenged her to a match tonight, so we'll see what happens there. Plus, we're going to hear from Randy Orton, we're going to hear from the Hurt Business, we got a contract signing for Candice and Io's match at Roadblock, and a whole lot more. So any more further ado, let's jump straight into the show. The show kicks off, Adam Pearce is in the ring with Dakota Kai. Dakota's already in the ring with him. And he says, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night in Las Vegas, we go to the UFC Apex. Our final stop on the road to WrestleMania, Roadblock, hits the UFC Apex. And it's going to be one hell of a show that shakes the foundation of WrestleMania. With the Iron Survivor Challenge matches, with World Championship matches, and with our main event. It'll be an unsanctioned match. The future of the Women's World Championship will be on the line, as the Royal Rumble winner Io Sky, despite not being cleared for competition, has begged for this matchup, so I have to give it to her. And she'll face off against, please welcome our first guest out here, Candice LeRae. Out comes Candice, and she's very happy, she's skipping to the ring. She probably even has her, babyface music back. And, she's just really happy to be here. She takes a seat down, she, sits in her chair, gets comfy, and, spins around happily in her chair, hugs Dakota. Pierce goes, you seem, happy today. Goes, I'm great, Pierce. Okay? We are 24 hours away from Roadblock, the final stop on the road to WrestleMania, and my WrestleMania season just got a hell of a lot better. Okay? Because I, tomorrow night, get the opportunity to go to the main event of WrestleMania to wrestle Utami or Shayna Baszler for the Women's World Championship. Now, I know, getting past Io is always a tough ask. She's a woman who I've never been able to beat in my time here in WWE. But, Io isn't cleared to compete. Io shouldn't even be wrestling tomorrow night, Pierce. Okay, you know that. I know that. Everybody here knows that Io is out of her depth and that she's got too emotional and she's signed up for something that she's not ready for. That's an unsanctioned match against me. And on top of that, guess who's the referee? My best friend in the whole world, Dakota. Dakota goes, yeah, here I am. He goes, so, Io, me and Dakota, we had some issues over the past few months. We let the Women's World Championship get between us. But there's one thing that we do still share, the one thing that bonded us in the first place, and that's preventing you from getting the championship. At the Royal Rumble, cooler heads didn't prevail, and you got the victory. And you thought that WrestleMania was all yours. You thought that we were done, and that you could go on to wrestle the Women's World Champion. Free will. But you should know us by now, Io, that we don't give up just like that. So I had to take matters into my own hands. I've heard a lot of other people asking Candice, why did you do what you did to Io? Why did you attack Io the way you did? Because I had no other choice. Okay? We were on the cusp because of my stupidity, my emotions, of nearly seeing you go to WrestleMania and become the Women's World Champion again. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't let that happen. Not after all the hard work myself and Dakota and everybody else put through, Tegan, Piper, all of them, Florence, to get that championship off of you. I couldn't sit here knowing that I had the power to stop you from winning that Royal Rumble and watch you waltz right into Vegas, right into the main event of WrestleMania, and plunge us back to where we came from. I don't want that. Nobody wants that. So you're saying Candice crashed out? I didn't crash out. I've never been more sane. I've never been more aware of what I'm doing. I'm doing what I have to do for this brand, for this division. And now, we just so happen to get lucky. Because Dakota, she feels the same way I do. And Roadblock, it's the end of your dreams, EO. Because not only am I going to take you out of WrestleMania, I'm going to take you out forever. And you're never going to get the chance to get back to the top of this division again. Because no matter what you do, the referee is in my back pocket. And she's going to do at Roadblock what she knows is the right thing. Dakota knows the right thing to do at Roadblock. So, EO, come out here and sign your death warrant. EO comes out. She takes a seat, and then EO goes to pick up the microphone. She goes, "No, you don't get to talk. Sign the contract. I don't want you backing away from this. You and your stupidity, your emotional stupidity, the same emotional stupidity that I showed back at the Royal Rumble that cost me what I needed to do, is going to cost you everything. EO, sign the contract. Meet me in Vegas and go away." EO sort of just stares down at the contract. She looks across at Dakota. Dakota sort of like looks her in the eyes, sort of just like sighs and just looks down at the contract. And EO takes the mic. She looks at Candice. Candice goes, "I said don't speak." She goes, "I'm not talking to you." And she turns across to Dakota. And she goes, "You took everything from me. But over these past few months, we have had the same goal. At Roadblock, if you are the referee and you help her win, how will you feel about that? Will you feel happy? Will you feel rewarded that Candice goes to WrestleMania? Or do we need to end Queendom forever? And Candice just laughs and goes, "Yo, you've signed the contract, okay? Now get out of this ring, because Dakota, she's smarter than you, okay? We outsmarted you last year. You still can't seem to get over it. So now you're trying to play the mind games here, but it's not going to work because we're always 2 steps ahead of you. Hence you found yourself in such a precarious position. But don't worry, yo, I know you're still hurting, so you know you're still not cleared. But I actually want this match. So, I'm not going to put my hands on you tonight. I'm going to wait 24 hours until tomorrow night, where your dreams are going to die in the very city that in a month later, my dreams will come true. Finally, after years and years of hard work and sitting back and letting Dakota take the spotlight last year, I get to finally be the hero that we all need. Once I put you down, I take you out for good. Finally, Candice LeRae can be the Women's World Champion again. And we can put all this behind us. See you tomorrow, EO. Candice drops the mic and walks out. And again, EO sort of just glares across at Dakota. Dakota does eventually follow Candice out as well. And Io sort of does look a bit panicked because, if Dakota really is on Candice's side, then she's kind of fucked. Because there's going to be some fucky refereeing. And that's going to take quite a lot to overcome. We then head backstage. Kayla Braxton's with Randy Orton. She says, Randy, you requested this time here tonight, following the events of last week on SmackDown and your loss to the Hurt Business in that tag team match. Randy goes, yes, Kayla, throughout my WWE career here for the past, 23 years, I've never been known to have my temper under control, and that was never more evident last week when my frustrations with what MVP said to me and him getting under my skin led to me causing our team to lose in that tag team match. Now, Alex and Chris, I may have called them out for being new here at WWE, but they're sure as hell not new to professional wrestling, and I should have shown more respect to two groundbreaking trailblazers of tag team wrestling last week because, they kind of know what they're doing around here. Hell, they're the tag team champions for a reason. So, for the first time in my life, I'm actually going to take accountability and apologize to Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, because what I did was uncalled for. And then Pretty Deadly walk in and go, oh, sorry, yes boy, sorry, yes boy. Now, Randy, it's so big and brave of you to finally, for the first time in your career, be the big man around here and apologize when you know you messed up. Because I can think of plenty more times you've messed up. And it was pretty funny last week, though, seeing you and the Motor City Machine Guns and you rip each other's heads off. But here's the kicker, boy. You and Ilya Dragunov, you used to think you run this yard as the greatest tag team here on SmackDown. But, myself and the Kidster, we've been waiting for our rematch for a long time for those tag team championships. And tonight, we actually have a tag team match. And we know that if you think you're next in line for the tag team championships, you're going to be wanting to watch very closely. Because it won't be the Motor City Machine Guns that you step into the ring with when that time comes. It'll be Pretty Deadly. Yes, boy. Opening match. Charlotte Flair takes on Aaliyah of Fatal Influence. She does pick up the win. A natural selection in 1040. 87 for Charlotte, 67 for Aaliyah. And yeah, she did beat Zelina and Fallon. I think it might have literally been the past 2 weeks on SmackDown. So, yeah. Just round out the trio, I guess. Charlotte beats Aaliyah here tonight. We then got to Nick Aldis in his office. And The Miz is in there complaining. He goes, I'm just saying, it's WrestleMania season, the biggest show of the year, and you've got nothing for the most must-see WWE superstar in history. Okay, I am WrestleMania. I've headlined the goddamn event. And Aldis goes, what do you want me to do about it? Miz goes, find me a match. Okay, in fact, I don't even have to wait till WrestleMania. Give me a match tonight, and I can start picking up wins, getting myself another shot at Big Bronson Reed and the United States Championship. And Aldis goes, actually, Miz, you've given me a great idea. Because, you're right, you did come up short recently against Bronson Reed in a United States Championship match, and I think it is only fair that you get a chance to get back in to the mix. So, well, there's another man around here on SmackDown who wants to throw his hat into the ring when it comes to wrestling for the United States Championship. So tonight, you and him are going to go one-on-one, and I guess whoever wins that will get a future shot at the United States Championship. Goes, great, who is it? Goes, it's Oba Femi. And Mrs. Face Shane goes, Oba Femi? No, I don't want to. I don't want that match, Nick. He goes, well, too bad, because it's happening tonight. Speaking of the United States Championship, we see Big Bronson Reed walking down the hallway when he's approached by the Learning Tree. He goes, look who it is, huh? It's Big Bronson Reed around here. Now listen, Bronson, you're a hell of a competitor for that United States Championship, but you're not even the best Aussie wrestler here on SmackDown, because those will be my boys Brad and Kylan. making waves in the tag team division under the learning tree. You can sit back and watch as my girls Morgan and Zeta win tag team action coming up next against Shayna and Carmella. But last week we got a pretty big win over former WWE champions, no biggie. And I'm feeling the momentum right now, okay? I've never felt better. Chris Jericho is at the prime peak of his life. Okay, there's no more petty grudges holding my mind down. I'm ready to wrestle, and I'm ready to become the United States Championship. Bronson Reed just laughs and goes, Chris, I don't know if you heard, but there's a match tonight where the winner gets a shot at the United States Championship. But I'm free, so why don't you and I have ourselves a championship match? And if you can beat me, I guess Oba Femi or The Miz is going to wait for you instead, Chris. But here's one thing. One question I've got to ask. How many times have you seen a tree survive a tsunami? And he walks away. And Jericho goes, probably quite a lot, actually. Okay? Because tsunamis, they water the trees and they make the trees grow. And that's what I'm going to do tonight when I beat you and take your championship, Big Bronson. So yeah, Jericho and Bronson Reed also tonight. Two very similar matches, I guess, between Bronson and Jericho and Oba and Miz. I wonder why that is. Sami Zayn cuts a promo. And he goes, last week, I've had a lot of people question me. And now I know it's the same thing that Sami Zayn comes out here and he says people are overlooking me and calling me an underdog that whole time. That's not what I'm talking about this time. Because last week I did win and I qualified for the Iron Survivor Challenge. But there's a huge asterisk by my victory last week. As you see, Drew McIntyre, he's had issues with Swerve recently, and last week it seemed as if Drew lost, not because I was better than Drew, but because he didn't want Swerve to win. It seemed like Drew lost. He threw the match. So now people are saying Sami Zayn didn't earn his way into this match. They were saying Sami Zayn got lucky to be the guy that was pinning Drew at the time he decided to give in. See, this is why I don't like letting personal grudges get in the way of championship ambitions, because now Drew McIntyre's stupidity, Drew McIntyre's choice last week has its effects on me. But there's only one way to prove to everybody that I do belong in that ring tomorrow night with Cody Rhodes, with Roman Reigns, with Jacob Fatu, with Jay White. And that's to win. That's for Sami Zayn to be the Iron Survivor, and when I am, I get a shot to become World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania. And Bobby Lashley, I hope to hell it's against you. It could be Randy Orton or Seth Rollins could choose to face either one of you two, and I'm stuck with CM Punk or Warden. But the fact of the matter is, I belong. Sami Zayn belongs. And tomorrow night, I will be the Iron Survivor. 77 tag match. That's actually pretty good. Obviously, Kairi Sane is still out of action after Candice LeRae killed her a couple of weeks ago. So Morgan and Zeta have to go it alone for the learning tree here tonight. And Shayna Baszler, she's wearing a mask, obviously, for her broken nose. And doesn't matter, though. Her and Carmella still pick up the win over Morgan and Zeta. Shayna pinning, or I guess submitting, Zeta Steel with the super kick Kirifuda clutch combo in 8:55. 86 for Shayna, 71 for Carmella, 35 for Zeta, 72 for Morgan. Oh yeah, Shayna, she picks up the win, she stares down the hard cam, she starts calling out Utami, she says, "You've awoken an animal inside me, huh? Somebody I thought was dead, somebody I thought was dormant. Roadblock is going to be the hardest match of your life, because this isn't Shayna Baszler, the tag team competitor. Shayna Baszler, the fierce of the fierce and the fabulous, you're stepping into the ring with. This is the Queen of Spades. This is the UFC killer. Back in the UFC Apex. And this time I'm leaving as the Women's World Champion. You took my nose. I'm taking your championship. And then we cut back to the Queendom Omega locker room. Cammy and her 2 champions are in there. Obviously, the Megas is getting ready for the main event. And she goes, Shayna, she has a way with words. But you can't let her get to you. Okay, last week what you did to her was just a receipt to what she did to you last month. As far as I'm concerned, your nose is broken, her nose is broken. But her nose won't be the only thing broken. After tomorrow night, her spirit will be broken because Shayna is talking this big game. She's talking this tough girl attitude game that brought her to the dance. But let's see if it's enough for her to stick around at the dance. But as for tonight, and then Mega Sis comes and stands besides Cammy, and she's like, we have something else we need you to do. We then cut from that to Kairi, sat backstage in her locker room, defeated, and Ember Moon just like walking around, getting warmed up for the match. And Emma's like, she finishes warming up, she sits down next to Kairi, she goes, hey girl, you good? And Kairi goes, eh. She goes, look, I know that EO is sort of the one you want right now, but EO's really busy with the stuff with Candice and all that, and not being cleared to compete. So, you're stuck with me. Asuka, what happened to her. And I have to say, last week, you're beating yourself up too much. Last week you nearly had the Megasis. Nobody here on SmackDown has beaten the Megasis. Nobody here in WWE has ever pinned the Megasis. But you came the closest I've seen. Not to mention what you did to her back at the Royal Rumble. She's scared of you. She'll never admit that she's scared of little old you, but she is. But tonight is my turn. Tonight I am gonna beat the Megasis. I'm gonna become the Liberty Champion. And it's not gonna be, me one-upping you, Kairi. It's gonna be because you broke her. Almost physically, but definitely mentally last week when you nearly took that championship from her. And once I am the champion, I definitely think you've earned the first shot at my championship. But, Kairi, tonight, you didn't have us out there last week. So I want to go out there all by myself tonight. And then Kairi just sort of watches her leave and she's like, yeah, good luck. It's Ember Moon versus the Megasis main event here tonight. We then come back to the ring. And MVP and the Hurt Business come out. He goes, well, I'm hearing Randy Orton has gone soft. They were telling me Randy Orton was backstage begging for an apology. An apology from who? Alex Shelley? Chris Sabin? The Motor City Machine Guns? Sure. But Randy, they ain't who you should be apologizing to. You should be apologizing to myself, to the almighty Bobby Lashley, to everybody like us all those years ago who you put down time after time to keep your spot nice and safe. But it's fine, Randy. Don't apologize to us. Keep trying to fight the Hurt Business. Because if you don't apologize to us, then that makes what we're going to do tomorrow even easier. Because we won't apologize to you for ending your fraudulent career once and for all, taking you out of WWE, out of WrestleMania, and continuing the reign of the almighty Bobby Lashley. That's when the Revolution come out. They've not been seen in a while. And Buster's got the mic and he goes, P, nice to know you haven't changed. You're still out here running your mouth thinking you run this place because Bobby Lashley is the World Heavyweight Champion. But let me tell you something here, MVP. That ain't how it's going to work. Because the Hurt Business, they have been making a lot of enemies around here on SmackDown over the past few months, but you probably forgot all about us. Because we ain't forgotten about you. Okay? You're thinking you're taking care of Ilya Dragunov, you're taking care of Randy Orton, but you ain't ever stepped foot in the ring with the Revolution. And I think I know why. It's because you look at us, you see younger, faster, stronger, smarter, sexier men. Well, that one only really goes for myself, no offense, boys. But you see the future. And that's why you've taken such a liking to us, MVP. That's why you wanted to align with the Revolution in the first place, because you know that our future, our stocks are up, and your stocks, as you cling on to that championship, are all the way down. Hell, you've already lost one of your championships. Oh, Ricochet there, with his goofy-ass bald head, couldn't keep a hold of the United States Championship when his old tag team partner splattered him into the canvas. And now, Damon Kemp and Ronnie Hughes, they've clawed, they've scratched, and they've clawed to get those tag team championships time after time after time after again, but they keep falling short. Shelley and Sabin, two guys you just disrespected, they're the champions right now, but your boys can't seem to get the job done. And then there's Bobby Lashley. The almighty, what a stud. A guy who everybody looks at and thinks, that guy's a champion. Except when push comes to shove, he can't win a single match without cheating and calling upon the Hurt Business to watch his back. Do you hurt people, MVP? Or you always so gotten to and hurt that you need to have Damon Kemp and Ronnie Hughes and even a guy like goddamn Ricochet to watch your back to make sure you keep a hold of your championship? Because here's what's gonna go down, MVP. Soon, and I'm talking very soon, possibly as soon as tomorrow night, Lashley ain't gonna be the World Heavyweight Champion anymore. And at that point, what's in it for the Hurt Business? What's in it for Damon and Ronnie, and hell, even for Ricochet? What's in it for Lashley? And once that time comes, MVP, they're gonna drop your ass like a bad habit, and then you'll have nobody. The Hurt Business will be a thing of the past, but what isn't a thing of the past, what is a thing of the future, now and forever, is this revolution. Because it's televised, and it won't stop being televised until the Hurt Business are 6 feet under. See you around, boys. We'll remember your faces, make sure you remember ours. We then cut backstage to the New Day. Xavier Woods, he's very defeated, but Kofi and Big E are in high spirits. And, they're getting ready. WrestleMania's just around the corner. Las Vegas, I hear it's great this time of year, Vegas, I've always wanted to go to Vegas, big night out with the New Day boys. And Xavier Woods goes, enough. Enough. Why are you talking about Las Vegas? Why are you talking about WrestleMania? He goes, because it's WrestleMania season, Woods. It's the most important time here in WWE. Woods goes, yeah, I know. I noticed. WrestleMania season comes and goes every year. Last year, I got on there, and me and Drew McIntyre were going to go at it, and I lost. I let myself down on the biggest show of the year. But I don't understand why you two are so excited about WrestleMania this year, considering we ain't going to be at WrestleMania. I should be entering WrestleMania as the World Heavyweight Champion, but I'm not, Kof. Do you know why? Because you lost the championship at Saturday Night's Main Event, Woods. Because I lost the championship. E, do you know why I lost the championship? Because you lost to Bobby Lashley, and Bobby Lashley beat you for it. He goes, but why did that happen, E, huh? Who threw in the towel? Who gave up on my championship rings? It sure as hell wasn't me. And all that time, I had to sit and think to myself, did E just stab me in the back? Is E jealous of me? But he goes, of course not, Woods. We're a family. We're brothers. We do this together. He goes, really? Because that's what I thought. That's what I thought when when me and you were there for Kof when he was the WWE champion. That's what I thought when Kof and I were there for you when you were the World Heavyweight champion. Even when you were on a different show to us, we were there for you, E. But it's just me. I guess it's just me when I'm the world champion. Suddenly it becomes okay for you guys to throw my championship away. And I thought it was all well and good because I knew you still had my best interests at heart. I'd be stupid to not think that. But then last week, we lost to the Learning Tree. The Learning Tree beat the New Day. All three of us, the strongest version of the New Day, beaten by the Learning Tree. And that's when I thought, there's no way that the New Day, in its strongest form, should lose to the Learning Tree. So something is up here. Either one of two things is up here. Kof. Either you guys are planning to stab me in the back and you did cost me my championship on purpose. And we should go our separate ways. Or you guys are just washed has-beens and can't get it done anymore. And we should go our separate ways. And he storms out. Guy goes, Woods! Woods! And Biggie sort of stops him. He goes, he's right, Kof. He's right. But we can't let it end like this. We have to fix it. Oh my god. Chris Jericho in an 85 rated match. What do you mean Bronson Reed got 96? Holy fuck. Big Bronson Reed does defeat Chris Jericho with a tsunami in 10 minutes and 6 to make defense number 3 of the US title. 96 for Bronson Reed, 73 for Chris Jericho. So yeah, Bronson Reed does put down the Learning Tree with the tsunami. And yeah, not another retention for Big Bronson. And still, he holds his championship up high when out comes Oba Femi again. And the two big men cross paths like ships in the night once again on the stage. Big Bronson Reed no telling Oba Femi to take a swing if he wants to take a swing. And Oba Femi sort of just brushing past him as he goes to the ring. Bronson Reed just turning and chuckling as he does. You know, the goal of this kid. And then Oba Femi, we go straight to his match against The Miz. He beats Miz 4 minutes 51 by pinfall. Oba Femi gets a 64, The Miz gets a 68. So yeah, two very similar victories of very similar caliber person by Oba Femi and Bronson Reed here tonight. After the match, Big Oba is celebrating in the ring when he grabs a microphone. And he goes, Big Bronson Reed, you and I, without saying a word to each other, we have declared war. You and I realize that a battle is on the horizon. You realize there can only be one of us in this yard. And I am the ruler of this yard. Everybody in NXT learnt it the hard way, and soon, Big Bronson Reed, you will learn it too. Because this is an official warning, Big Bronson Reed. Oba Femi, the ruler, challenges you to a match for the United States Championship. And unless you are a coward, I expect a response. We then cut back to Charlotte. You know, she's in her locker room following her win tonight. You know, just sort of just cooling down. When there's a knock on her locker room door, and in walk the women's tag team champions, Cora Jade and Roxy Perez. Go, Charlotte, don't you mind us? So big win tonight. You know, nice win over Aaliyah. You know, great competitor, member of Fatal Influence. You know, they're actually coming for our tag team championships, I believe, but you know they're not going to win them because we're the greatest women's tag team of all time. Charlotte goes, what on earth are you two doing here? What do you want? She goes, you want me to tell them to leave, Charlie? He goes, no, I'm actually intrigued by what brings them here. And Roxy's like, so Charlotte, you are one of the greatest women's wrestlers of this generation. She goes, well, I'm flattered. He goes, but here you sit, 7 weeks out from WrestleMania and nothing. Could it be that WrestleMania is once again going to pass Charlotte Flair by? Charlotte goes, it's starting to look that way, I'm not going to lie, girls, but unless you've got some sort of proposition for me, like a title match, I'm not even sure what brings you here. Corey goes, that's exactly what we've got for you, Charlotte. A shot at the Women's Tag Team Championships. You and Ariana Grande, provided that we get past Billy Starks and the other one first. Charlotte goes, a championship match. You're challenging me, Charlotte Flair, to a championship match. And Rocky sort of shrugs and goes, yeah, I guess we are. And then she sort of turns to Corbin and goes, are we? Corbin goes, yes. Goes, great, Charlotte. I'll go speak to your GM and I'll get it set up for next week. You against the Women's Tag Team Champions, whether it be us or it won't be Billy and Kelly, but, it's the formality that counts. And then they walk away and Ariana goes, can you believe that, Charlie? We're going to get the chance to win the Tag Team Championships next week and go to WrestleMania. Me and you to WrestleMania as the champions. Then Charlotte goes, yeah, I'm sure there's no funny business here at all. Then cut to the ring. And Swerve, he storms out of the crowd. He jumps the barricade. He grabs the mic when he gets into the ring. He goes, okay, I've waited long enough. I've tried to be the good little employee and wait my turn to come out here. But this is starting to take the piss right now because I can only hold this stuff in for so damn long. Hey, Swerve, how's your week been? I'm sure you know damn well my week's been pretty goddamn awful. Because last week, I had the chance to go to WrestleMania last year. I walked in as the World Heavyweight Champion. I walked out as the World Heavyweight Champion. I was going to do that again. I was going to go to WrestleMania this year. I was going to put down Bobby Lashley or Warden or CM Punk. I don't really care which one it's got to be. Stomp their ass into the canvas and become World Champion once again. 2-time World Champion. And I was all going to do that. I had to make it through one match. I had to get through the Fatal 4-Way last week. It was myself. It was Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, Drew McIntyre. Now this guy Drew, he's had problems with me. As far as I was concerned, me and Drew were one and done, bang, back in June. Because I went to Drew's backyard, I put his ass in the ground, and I walked out and still World Heavyweight Champion. That night apparently ruined his life. That night apparently sent Drew McIntyre down a downward spiral, and Swerve was his big bad boogeyman. That's fine by me. I've made a lot of enemies in this industry. I'm sure I'll make more. It's part of what being at the top of this industry is. It's not about being friendly with everybody. It's about stepping on everybody's toes to get to where you want to be. So that was all fine, well and good. Drew McIntyre could drive himself insane thinking about me. Well, I don't think about him for a damn second. Then he tries to take me out. End my career last year. But I got one back over on him with the Royal Rumble and I dumped his ass over the top rope. And then there came last week. Swerve finally has the chance to get into this Iron Survivor. Finally has the chance to get back the World Championship. And what happens? I don't get in. Now Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, two incredible competitors. And if I'd have lost fair and square to either of them, listen, Sammy, I heard you earlier on tonight saying that people might look at you like you don't belong in that Iron Survivor Challenge match because of what went down. You do belong, you're a hell of a competitor, and it ain't your fault. What happened, happened. But this guy Drew McIntyre, what he does last week is he stares right in my face as he throws the match. He throws his opportunity to become World Heavyweight Champion down the toilet. His chance to go to WrestleMania down the toilet just to get back at me. Well, because I beat him in a wrestling match 8 months ago. Drew, I know you can hear this because you've always got eyes and ears around this place. I'm sure you're going to make some sarcastic remark about it on social media. You're a clown. You're pathetic. You need to get over it. I was better than you on that night. And if you can't live with that fact, if you can't live with the fact it wasn't me who disappointed your family back at Clash at the Castle, it was yourself, then the sooner you can return your mind to where it needs to be. But, see, here's the bigger problem, Drew, with what you did. You pissed me off. And, normally, I'll be letting you go on your merry way and you can forget about me and I can forget about you. But now, I kind of want to beat your ass. So why don't you get your ass out here right now? We can do this right now. Drew's theme does indeed hit. He comes out. He goes, Swerve, run in your mouth, and out here I see. Don't worry. I can see you calling me to the ring right now. I can see you calling me for a fight. And I will get in there and I will kick your head off. But this isn't it. What I did to you last week was how I felt. How I felt looking up at the lights in Glasgow. And I could see across from you last week the helpless look in your eyes of the reality sunk in to you that you're not going to WrestleMania. The reality sunk into your face that this entire year of you chasing to become world champion over once again, it's over. And I was the one who did it. Because that was the same look that my wife in the front row in Glasgow had in her eyes when I regained consciousness back in June. And I looked across at her in disappointment and she was disappointed in me. So that's how it feels, Swerve. How it feels to be so close to having your dreams come true, to getting that championship and having the greatest moment of your career and having it yanked away. Swerve goes, again, Drew, you threw it away for me last week, but I've still seen you out here bitching and moaning. You're not taking accountability for your own loss. I didn't cheat to beat your ass back at Glasgow. You just weren't good enough. Maybe Drew McIntyre isn't good enough. Drew goes, okay, I haven't got to be good enough. I've just got to be tough enough and willing enough to beat your ass. So let's skip to that part. He charges into the ring. Drew and Swerve brawl all over again. You know, they exchange punches in the ring. You know, Drew probably rakes him in the eye or some shit. He drops him with a claymore. Angel Garza and Andrade run out. You know, I didn't notice this last week, but Andrade, you know, he showed respect to Swerve after their 99 rated match on SmackDown. But they do also have that old Vega Mafia connection that I didn't put together until this booking this segment in here. So yeah, they've long had respect for each other. So yeah, so, you know, 'cause they never really broke up. Andrade went to SmackDown and then Swerve and Santos joined the Balor Club. Yeah, so like, so it's nice that they still, you know, never broke up, because I can still just plug Andrade and Garza into here and like. But it is Angel Garza this time who steps to Drew and, like, you know, tries to stop Drew from attacking Swerve. And that leads to an impromptu match, Drew McIntyre against Angel Garza. Gets a 96. These fucking Garzas, these Mexicans, huh? Yeah. making the most of their TV time, so they're making sure they don't go sent back to catering. But Drew McIntyre does beat Angel Garza with a Claymore in 18-17. 78 for Drew, 90 for Garza. Big win for Drew. Banger win for Drew. And then after the match, you know, he sort of looks down at Garza. He goes, what's your problem, huh? Why are you even out here? Okay, why are you protecting him? What, because you showed your tag team partner respect 2 weeks ago? He's a liar. He's a manipulator. He deserves everything he's got coming to him. And if you know what's best for you, you'll stay out of my sight and leave this to us. Swerve gets back into the ring. He takes Drew McIntyre down with a house call. The brawl continues until they're finally pulled apart. You know, Angel and Andrade pulling Swerve off Drew as Drew scurries away through the crowd. But yeah, more heated exchanges between Drew and Swerve. And yeah, Drew is very, very bitter about losing at Clash, which, you know, he has every right to feel like that, to try and make that wrong a right and put Swerve down. But also Swerve is like, he's right, because like, you lost, mate. Like, it's not my fault your life went to shit after it. So yeah. Speaking of, we then get an interview with Angelo Dawkins. And Kayla Braxton goes, Angelo Dawkins, thank you for taking this interview. You know, I've got a couple of questions I need to ask. He goes, hit him. She goes, well, first and foremost, how's your week been? You know, you said something about taking a vacation last week when you were here with me to New Orleans. How did that go? He goes, fam, it was great. It was a great family vacation, Kayla. It was great to be away from the sights and the sounds of the WWE for a week, but I'm ready to get back to work heading into WrestleMania season. And Kayla sort of just like gives him like a stare. And he goes, what? He goes, you don't actually believe that, do you? He goes, what? Oh yeah, I believe it was great to get away from the WWE Universe. She goes, no, I mean, we all saw you on Raw on Monday night sticking your nose in Angela and Montez Ford's business when you were supposed to be vacationing in New Orleans, but there you were in the front row of Monday Night Raw screwing over Montez Ford. He goes, I didn't do any such thing to Tez. If Tez can't wrestle to his best because I'm in the front row watching his match, then maybe Tez don't deserve to be WWE champion. But like I was saying, we were out in New Orleans, and I hear Raw's in town, so, you know, I bought a ticket. I sat front row and watched a thrilling WWE Championship encounter between CM Punk and Montez Ford, and what a match it was, Kayla. Didn't quite go my old partner's way, but let's just say, hypothetically, Kayla, if what I did do was send a message to Montez Ford because of what he did to me back at the Rumble, then I'd say it's even. You know, he cost me a shot to be world champion at WrestleMania. I cost him a shot to be world champion at WrestleMania. As far as I'm concerned, that's it. But you know, it was a great vacation. My wife and I, we really loved it. You know, we're thinking about going again. We're thinking about going to Buffalo next Monday. Do you know anything else happening in Buffalo Monday, Kayla? She goes, yes, Dawkins, it's Monday Night Raw from Buffalo, New York. He goes, wow! Isn't that crazy? I guess I'll be there too. Front and center, buying a ticket in the crowd like a fan, watching my favorite WWE superstars as they punch their tickets to WrestleMania. CM Punk's going to WrestleMania. Seth Rollins is going to WrestleMania. One of the Iron Survivor Challenge winners is going to WrestleMania. Is Tez? Nah. 81. We'll take that for just a nice little tag match. Pretty Deadly defeat the Labyrinth in 10 minutes and 8. Elton Prince pinning Drake Chambers with a spilled milk. 76 for Elton, 74 for Kit, 61 for Drake, 82 for Nathan. You know, Labyrinth not factored into WrestleMania stuff. I do still like them. I do stuff with them after WrestleMania, but you know, they're in the vortex of like mid-carders that aren't really a priority on TV right now heading into WrestleMania. So yeah, nice win for Pretty Deadly. And then after the match, Pretty Deadly grabbed the mic and they go, well, would you look at that? Another big victory for Pretty Deadly here on SmackDown. And I think it's about time we stopped this chicanery, okay? Because Randy Orton and Ilya Dragunov and all of them are disrespecting us, the former WWE Tag Team Champions who got screwed out of their titles. So Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, come to the ring right now and let's exchange words and set up our championship rematch. Instead of the Mercy Machine Guns, they get Shark KO and a brawl. Randy, of course, he apologized for his actions earlier on to the Mercy Machine Guns, but no such apologies in line for Pretty Deadly. He immediately starts swinging on them. A big brawl kicks off. You know, obviously Randy Orton and Ilya Dragunov get the better of Pretty Deadly in a brawl. That's when the Hurt Business run out. All of them, you know, they start fighting. Randy Orton and Bobby Lashley get into it. The other Hurt Business members start piling on Ilya. Mostly machine guns also run out to even the odds, as do the Revolution, and we get another big Hurt Business brawl. You know, all of these men, Hurt Business, Pretty Deadly, Shark KO, Mostly Machine Guns, Revolution, all of them in this big fight. And it is the babyfaces who end up standing tall. Lashley's the only one left in the ring. He eats an RKO. And Randy Orton goes into the corner. He goes to punt Bobby Lashley. And MVP, pulls him away. And Lashley avoids a narrow fate. But Randy stands tall with Ilya, the Machine Guns, and the Revolution. Just 24 hours of his World Championship match with Lashley at Roadblock. Next week, we are coming off the heels of Roadblock. It's going to be the full swing on the road to WrestleMania, and we now have 3 big matches set for the show. The first is a huge 12-man tag team match, following on from the brawl we just saw. It's going to be the Hurt Business teaming up with, of all people, Pretty Deadly. That's a very bizarre duo, but they're going to be joining forces to take on Randy Orton, Ilya Dragunov, the Motor City Machine Guns, and the 3 members of the Revolution. Just Nebo and Rufus, because Buster would outnumber, so yeah. So Buster's on the outside, but Nebo and Rufus will team with the Motor City Machine Guns and Shark KO against Pretty Deadly in the Hurt Business. Plus, we have a Women's Tag Team Championship match where Charlotte Flair and Ariana Grace will team up against the Women's Tag Team Champs, whoever they may be. They are currently New Millennium, Roxy Perez and Cora Jade, but they could be Billy Starks and Killer Kelly of the Misfits. Plus, a 6-man tag team match. Swerve Scott teams up with Andrade and Angel Garza to face Drew McIntyre and 2 partners, if he can find them. Before our main event, we cut to Dakota. She's pulling up to the parking lot. She's about to leave the arena. When she pulls up next to her car, and she sort of stops because EO is just waiting outside her car. And EO gets in Dakota's face. And she goes, "Tomorrow night, you better not do anything stupid." And Dakota just reiterates, she goes, "EO, I've got nothing new to say. Tomorrow night, I'm gonna do what's right. Whatever my heart tells me is the right thing to do, it's what I'm gonna do." And Io just glares at her as she walks away. And Dakota sort of does look a little bit guilty, what am I gonna do? What is right? 86! Let's fucking go, banger. I'm glad I put this in the main event spot now. I mean, obviously Drew and Angel Garza could have main evented, but, in terms of, actual story progression, other than just being a heatless banger, Megasis and Ember was, the only thing we had announced for tonight. But Ember gives the Megasis a good run, like Kyrie did last week. And in the end, it's ultimately a very similar fate that befalls Ember Moon. Maybe even some nefarious means. The Megasis cheats before hitting Fate's Descent, pinning Ember Moon, and retaining the championship. So yes, and still, the Women's Liberty Champion is the Megasis. She scores a 72, Ember Moon scores an 80. And after the match, Cammy and the rest of Queen of Omega come out. They've raised the Megasis's hand, and they look down at Ember, sort of stirring at their feet. And the Megasis looks down at her. She looks across at Cammy. Cammy just sort of nods her head when the assault begins. Ember Moon is taken out. The Queen of Omega Girls beat up on Ember Moon. Kairi runs out from the back. She tries to make the save for Ember Moon, but they end up taking Kairi down as well. They handcuff her to the ropes. Basically the Jimmy and Jay angle from real life. But yeah, they sort of hold. No, they don't. They always hold her against the ropes. They never handcuff anybody. Remember, that's always the Queendom thing. They just pin Kairi up in the corner, forcing her to watch. Saya holding her eyes open, making us watch as Ember Moon gets dissected in the ring. And in a very similar fate to Asuka, Megasis picks up the steel chair. She stands over Ember Moon's body, and she also gets the steel chair concerto, the Queendom special, decapitating Ember Moon. And Megasis holds the chair up high, stands tall. Eventually, when the Queendom and Mega Girls let go of Kairi to celebrate, Kairi cruise over to Ember to check on her, and then Ember rolls off the stairs and onto the ring mat, into the arms of Kairi, and we get the shot. It's the Rocky IV shot. Rocky's on the floor with Apollo in his arms after Drago killed him. Drago's looking down at him like that. Kairi looks up, and Megasis, who stood on top of the steel steps, has the championship over her shoulder, just glares down at Kairi. Kairi glares up at her. And yeah, another one bites the dust. '83 rated show. Pretty good. Heading into this show, I was I have no fucking idea what I want to do, because all of my creative ideas were for next week and beyond. But I actually think I put together a pretty fun show. What matters more, those what you thought of. The only thing I really knew going into this show was, the ending and the contract signing. But I think the rest of it came about pretty good. And I've set up a nice couple of weeks of TV. But what matters more is what you thought of the show. Do let your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you on the other side for Velocity. Velocity kicks off with an 80 rated 6-man tag team match. Last week, our esteemed trios champions, LA Extreme, called out the Undisputed Era. And they are here this week. Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Roderick Strong in 6-man tag team action. They defeat Angelico, Cruz, Del Toro, and Joaquin Wild in 14-17. Kyle O'Reilly pinning Cruz with a brainbuster. 53 for Bobby Fish, 85 for Roddy, 96 for Kyle, 73 for Joaquin, 59 for Cruz, 65 for Angelico. And after the match, Kyle O'Reilly does take the microphone. He goes, "So, we've been a little bit busy on ECW the past few weeks. We sort of got the band back together. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong. And we were busy trying to fight off the Paragon, Adam's old friends, when we kept getting... Our phones blew up last Friday, because apparently the LA Extreme, the Cruiserweight Trios champions, called us out. They called out the Undisputed Era. They called out us three to show up here on Velocity. Well, here is our response. We accept the challenge. In 2 weeks' time, Velocity comes to Barcelona to kick off WWE's European tour. I believe the 14th was the date in Barcelona. Oh, yeah, because the 14th was in Barcelona, then the 17th was in Brussels, and the 25th. Then they did Bologna, then London. So yeah, in 2 weeks' time, Velocity will be in Barcelona. And on that night, the Undisputed Era will become the Cruiserweight Trios champions. So yeah, big Cruiserweight Trios championship match set for 2 weeks' time in Barcelona. Bobby Fish versus Kyle O'Reilly. No, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong against LA Extremes, Rush, Jorge Santana, and Santos Escobar. 89, Jesus Christ. Our boy Hanzo gets an 87. He's cooking. But yeah, Dudley does pick up the win. I've changed Dudley's picture to that one now because, he's got that look back, and that's always been his best look anyway. Yeah, Dudley wins with the Dudley device in 13-12. 88 for Dudley, 87 for Hanzo. So yeah, Dudley is the contender for the Speed Championship. He will have a future date with David Martin for that title. And our main event is a Cruiserweight Championship match we set up last week. Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali. And in an AEA rated match, Cedric does retain the championship. It goes 18 minutes and 5. Cedric cheats. He gets his foot on the ropes or something. He cheats to beat Mustafa Ali to retain the Cruiserweight Championship. 76 for Cedric, 93 for Ali. Why is Cedric declining or something? Because he's been kind of physical condition. Okay, so he's not declining physical ability. He's just a bit knackered. But yeah, that's very. Why is his ratings falling off? I don't want to put the belt on Ali here, but maybe I should have. I mean, I could have done Ali versus the challenger at WrestleMania, but it wasn't the plan. Maybe I'll make it a triple threat. Who knows? Anyway, I'm thinking out loud here, but I don't want to make another multi-man match because I've moaned about them doing a lot of them in real life, and I already have too many on my show where you'll be going, aren't you a hypocrite, Connell? But I'll explain why I'm not when the time comes. Don't worry about it. But yes, after the match, Cedric rolls up the ramp. He's got the championship. He holds the championship up high. And Ali sort of looks at him, shaking his head. But Cedric sort of just smirks back at him, taps his head. And then at a point, you do cut back to Ali. And Ali's like, yeah, fair. Because if you remember when they were a tag team, Mustafa Ali wanted this side out of Cedric Alexander. He wanted, him to become the winner and, do whatever he could to become champion. That's why Ali sort of left him behind. So now, despite him not being the champion, Ali is part of him is quite proud to see Cedric, do whatever it takes to keep a hold of the belt and cheat here tonight. But yeah, that ends a relatively short episode of Velocity. By that I mean there's only 3 matches, but, in terms of my talking about it, it's been 5 minutes, which is actually pretty long for Velocity. They get an 85, pretty stacked show. And that is the final stop. The next episode will be the Roadblock pay-per-view. Probably coming out the day or two before WrestleMania in real life. But I'm not going to get into that again. Because, I've made it abundantly clear that it's living rent-free in my head that I'm not going to get it out on time. But you've got to just suck it up and accept greatness will come at its own pace. But yeah. What matters more is looking forward to the show, mainly of SmackDown. And I'll see you next time for Roadblock, the final stop on the road to WrestleMania. See you then.